What if you could plant a flower just once and then year after year watch it return with endless blooms without lifting a finger? Imagine stepping into your garden every season and being greeted by a burst of color, fragrance, and life, all from flowers you planted long ago. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 25 of the very best long-blooming perennial flowers. These are plants that don't just survive, they thrive. They're the reliable workhorses of the garden, giving you beauty that lasts for months, and they'll keep coming back stronger each year. And here's the exciting part. You'll discover varieties for every type of gardener. Whether you want a vibrant cottage-style garden, a pollinator-friendly oasis, or just something low maintenance that practically takes care of itself, there's a flower on this list for you. Now, make sure you stick around all the way to the end because I'll reveal my #1 favorite perennial of all time. One that doesn't just bloom beautifully, but can also handle a little bit of neglect and still come back to amaze you. And hey, if you love gardening as much as I do, take a second right now to tap that like button. It really helps us grow this channel and bring you more tips, tricks, and inspiration for your garden. All right, let's jump right in. First up, the dependable coneflower, also known as echinacea. This hardy perennial is a true star in the garden. With its bold, daisy-like petals in shades of purple, pink, and even sometimes white, coneflowers bloom from midsummer straight through fall. That's months of color, long after many flowers have faded. They thrive in full sun, are incredibly drought-tolerant once established, and need little care. Just plant them in well-drained soil and watch them come back stronger every year. Deadheading the spent blooms can even encourage fresh flowers. And here's the fun part. Coneflowers are absolute butterfly magnets. Stand near them on a summer afternoon, and you'll likely see pollinators buzzing around all around. Some gardeners even dry the seed heads to feed birds in the winter. It's beauty and wild light support all in one plant. Next is the cheerful black-eyed Susan. Known for its bright golden yellow petals and dark chocolate centers, this flower is like sunshine in your garden. It blooms from midsummer well into fall, creating waves of color just when you need it most. Black-eyed Susans are incredibly tough. They tolerate poor soil, resist pests, and practically thrive on neglect. Plant them in a sunny spot, give them a little water during dry spells, and that's it. They'll return year after year with almost no effort. Here's a tip. Plant them in groups or drifts for a breathtaking effect. When they bloom together, it looks like your garden is glowing. And just like coneflowers, they're beloved by bees, butterflies, and even songbirds that enjoy their seeds in late season. #3 is the ever-popular daylily. Despite the name, these flowers are anything but fleeting. Each bloom may last just one day, but the plant produces such an abundance of buds that you'll enjoy continuous waves of flowers for weeks, sometimes months during summer. Daylilies come in an astonishing variety of colors: orange, yellow, pink, red, and even near purple. So you can mix and match to fit any garden style. They're one of the toughest perennials you can grow, handling heat, humidity, and even a little neglect with ease. Here's a trick. If you deadhead or remove spent flowers, many varieties will rebloom, giving you an even longer display. Daylilies are a classic choice for gardeners who want effortless, long-lasting beauty. Coming in at #4 is the timeless Shasta daisy. With its crisp white petals and sunny yellow centers, this flower brings a clean, classic look to any garden. They start blooming in early summer and continue well into late summer, giving you a long season of fresh, cheerful color. Shasta daisies love full sun and well-drained soil. Once planted, they're low maintenance, needing little more than occasional watering. They're also great as cut flowers. Just a few stems in a vase can brighten an entire room. One pro tip: divide your clumps every few years to keep them blooming vigorously. It's an easy way to multiply your plants for free and share them with friends. Shasta daisies are as generous as they are beautiful. And rounding out our first group, we have Coreopsis, often called tickseed. These bright daisy-like flowers are known for their vibrant golden yellow blooms, though some varieties come in pinks and reds too. They bloom from early summer straight into fall, one of the longest blooming periods of any perennial. Coreopsis thrives in full sun and adapts to almost any soil. Once established, it's drought-tolerant, making it perfect for low-maintenance gardens. With just a little deadheading, you'll be rewarded with a steady stream of flowers month after month. And here's something gardeners love. Coreopsis self-seeds easily, so you may find it popping up in new spots each year, creating cheerful surprises around your garden. So that's our first 5 long-blooming perennials: coneflower, black-eyed Susan, daylilies, Shasta daisies, and coreopsis. Which one of these would brighten your garden the most? Let me know down in the comments. I love hearing your choices. At number 6, we have the soft and dreamy catmint, also known as nepeta. If you want a flower that creates a haze of gentle lavender blue color, this is the one for you. Catmint begins blooming in late spring and can keep flowering all the way through midsummer. And with just a quick trim after its first flush, many varieties will reward you with a second round of blooms later in the season. What makes catmint so special is not only its long flowering season, but also its resilience. It thrives in poor soil, laughs at drought, and resists pests and deer. That's why it's a top pick for gardeners who want beauty without the constant babysitting. Plus, as its name suggests, cats absolutely adore it, often rolling around near the plants for the fragrant oils it releases. Another bonus? Pollinators love it too. Bees, butterflies, and even hummingbirds are drawn to catmint's blossoms, making it a wonderful companion plant in a pollinator-friendly garden. Use it along pathways, borders, or as a soft ground cover around taller plants. It adds movement and a gentle touch of color wherever it grows. Catmint is proof that sometimes the simplest, fuss-free plants can make the biggest impact in a garden. At number 7 is the airy and elegant Russian sage. With its tall spires of silvery purple flowers, Russian sage brings texture, color, and drama to the garden for months at a time. It begins flowering in mid to late summer, often carrying its blooms well into fall, which makes it a fantastic plant for extending seasonal interest. This perennial thrives in hot, sunny spots and is remarkably drought-tolerant once established. In fact, Russian sage prefers drier soil and doesn't need much care at all, perfect for gardeners who want a low-maintenance showpiece. Its aromatic silvery green foliage adds another layer of beauty, even when the flowers aren't in full bloom. One of the best things about Russian sage is how versatile it is. Plant it as a backdrop in your flower beds to create height and structure, or let it shine as a centerpiece in a mixed border. Its airy flowers create a cloud-like effect that sways beautifully in the breeze. And just like catmint, it's highly attractive to pollinators but usually ignored by deer and rabbits. Here's a tip. Pair Russian sage with yellow or white flowers like black-eyed Susans or Shasta daisies for a striking contrast that really pops in the garden. Coming in at number 8, we have the bold and fiery blanket flower, also known as Gaillardia. If you want non-stop color, this is your plant. Its daisy-like blooms come in vibrant shades of red, orange, and yellow, often with unique patterns and banding that make each flower look like a miniature sunset. These blooms start in early summer and just keep going, sometimes right into fall, with very little effort from you. Blanket flowers love full sun and dry, well-drained soil. In fact, they prefer poor soil conditions over rich ones, making them a great option if you're gardening in less than ideal conditions. They're drought-tolerant, heat-tolerant, and overall one of the toughest long bloomers you can grow. But toughness doesn't mean they're boring. Far from it. Gaillardias have a wild, energetic charm that works perfectly in cottage gardens, meadows, or mixed perennial beds. They're also fantastic for attracting pollinators like butterflies and bees. And when the season is over, their seed heads provide food for birds, adding year-round value to your garden. If you're looking for a flower that works as hard as it shines, blanket flower is the ultimate choice. At number 9 is a perennial that not only blooms beautifully, but also brings your garden to life. Bee balm, also called monarda. These shaggy, tubular flowers come in brilliant shades of red, pink, purple, and white, and they bloom from midsummer into late summer. Their shape makes them irresistible to pollinators, especially bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds, hence the name. Bee balm thrives in moist, well-drained soil and prefers full sun, though it can handle a bit of light shade. It spreads by underground rhizomes, which means it can form beautiful clumps over time, filling in your garden naturally. The flowers are stunning, but the foliage is just as impressive. It's aromatic and has been traditionally used in teas and remedies. One thing to watch out for is powdery mildew, a common issue with bee balm. But don't worry, choosing resistant varieties and giving your plants good air circulation usually solves the problem. And here's a fun bonus. Not only do pollinators love it, but deer tend to stay away, making it a reliable choice in many regions. Add bee balm to your garden, and you'll not only get weeks of color, but you'll also create a buzzing hub of wildlife activity right outside your door. And finally, rounding out this set is salvia, a true garden workhorse. Salvias are part of the mint family, and they're known for their vertical spikes of flowers in stunning shades of blue, purple, pink, and red. Blooming begins in late spring or early summer, and with regular deadheading, these beauties will continue to put on a show well into fall. Salvia loves full sun and well-drained soil, and once established, it's remarkably drought-resistant. It's a plant that asks for very little but gives so much in return. Months of vibrant color, minimal maintenance, and constant pollinator activity. Hummingbirds in particular are drawn to salvia, making it a must-have if you want more life and movement in your garden. There are many types of salvia, from annuals to hardy perennials, but the perennial varieties are especially rewarding since they come back every year. Use them as vertical accents in your flower beds, pair them with ornamental grasses, or let them shine alongside warm-colored blooms for a bold contrast. Salvia is proof that with just a little care, you can enjoy wave after wave of flowers all season long. So there you have it, 5 more long-blooming perennials: catmint, Russian sage, blanket flower, bee balm, and salvia. Each one adds its own color, charm, and personality to the garden. Which of these 5 would you plant first? Let me know in the comments below. I love hearing your garden plans. At number 11, we have the tall and showy garden phlox. These perennials are true statement makers, with clusters of fragrant flowers that come in shades of pink, purple, red, and white, and they bloom in midsummer and often continue right into early fall, giving your garden weeks of continuous color when it needs it most. Phlox loves full sun, but appreciates a little afternoon shade in hotter climates. They prefer rich, well-drained soil and consistent watering. With a bit of care, you'll be rewarded with blooms that not only look stunning, but smell wonderful too. Their sweet fragrance makes them a favorite for cut flower arrangements. Phlox is also a butterfly magnet. If you want to create a pollinator-friendly garden, this plant is a must-have. One quick tip: powdery mildew can sometimes be an issue with phlox, but planting them in an area with good air circulation or choosing resistant varieties will keep them looking fresh and healthy all season long. Garden phlox brings elegance, fragrance, and wildlife appeal, all in one tall, beautiful package. Next up, at number 12, is the rugged yet beautiful yarrow. This perennial is known for its fern-like foliage and flat-topped clusters of flowers in colors ranging from sunny yellow to soft pink, red, and white. Yarrow begins blooming in early summer and can continue for months, often right into fall, especially if you trim back the spent blooms to encourage new growth. Yarrow is incredibly tough. It thrives in poor soil, tolerates drought, and is virtually ignored by deer and rabbits. Once planted, it asks for very little, but rewards you with long-lasting flowers that also make excellent cut or dried arrangements. Its feathery foliage adds texture, and the flowers stand tall, creating a striking presence in borders or meadows. Beyond beauty, yarrow is also rich in history. It's been valued for centuries in herbal medicine, used for teas, salves, and even as a companion plant in vegetable gardens because it attracts beneficial insects. If you want a flower that's as tough as it is beautiful, yarrow is a no-brainer. At number 13, we step into the world of fragrance with the beloved lavender. This iconic perennial is adored for its silvery foliage, soothing scent, and long-lasting purple spikes that begin blooming in early to midsummer and often last for weeks. In warmer climates, some varieties can even produce a second flush of blooms later in the season. Lavender thrives in full sun and well-drained soil. It dislikes soggy roots, but loves dry conditions. Once established, it's highly drought-tolerant, making it perfect for low-maintenance gardens. It's also deer-resistant and pest-resistant, so you won't have to worry about unwelcome visitors nibbling away at your plants. But lavender isn't just about looks. Its fragrance fills the air on warm days, turning any garden into a calming retreat. You can harvest the flowers for homemade sachets, essential oils, or even culinary uses. And of course, pollinators can't resist it. Bees in particular are drawn to its blooms. Lavender is the ultimate multi-purpose perennial. Beauty, fragrance, resilience, and versatility all wrapped in one plant. Number 14 is Veronica, often called speedwell. These upright perennials bring vertical interest with their spiky flower clusters in shades of blue, purple, pink, or white. Veronica begins blooming in early summer and with a little deadheading can keep flowering for several weeks into midsummer. They're easy to grow in full sun with well-drained soil, and they don't ask for much in return. Veronica is a great way to add structure to your flower beds, breaking up the softer shapes of daisies or coneflowers with its bold vertical spikes. One great feature of Veronica is its reliability. It stands up well to heat, resists pests, and keeps its shape without flopping over. Butterflies love it, and its cut flowers last nicely in arrangements. For the best effect, plant it in groups so those vertical spikes really stand out. If you want a flower that adds both color and form to your garden, Veronica is a dependable choice. And rounding out this group at number 15 is the striking penstemon, also known as beard tongue. These tubular flowers bloom in early summer and can last well into midsummer with colors ranging from rich reds and purples to softer pinks and whites. Their shape makes them irresistible to hummingbirds, who dart in and out of the blossoms looking for nectar. Penstemon loves full sun and thrives in well-drained soil, especially in areas that don't stay overly wet. They're tolerant of heat and drought, making them ideal for gardens in warmer regions. With a little trimming after the first flush of flowers, some varieties will even produce a second round of blooms. One of the most appealing things about penstemon is how it bridges the gap between wildflower charm and garden elegance. It has that slightly untamed, natural look, but still fits beautifully into borders and beds. Plus, many varieties are native to North America, which makes them an eco-friendly choice for supporting local pollinators. If you want to add movement, color, and wildlife interest, penstemon deserves a place in your garden lineup. So there you have it. 5 more long-blooming perennials: garden phlox, yarrow, lavender, veronica, and penstemon. Each one brings something special, from fragrance to pollinator appeal. If you could only pick one of these to add to your garden, which would it be? Share your favorite in the comments. I'd love to know. At number 16, we find the graceful and versatile hardy geraniums, also called cranesbill. Not to be confused with the annual bedding geraniums, these perennials are true survivors. They bloom from late spring into summer, often sending out flushes of flowers again later in the season if trimmed back. Their blooms come in delicate shades of pink, blue, purple, and white, with intricate veining that makes each petal look hand-painted. What makes hardy geraniums truly special is their ability to adapt. They thrive in full sun or partial shade, and once they're established, they're remarkably drought-tolerant. Their mounded growth habit fills out garden beds beautifully, spilling gently over edges and weaving themselves among other perennials. Imagine a drift of soft blue geraniums hugging a border, their flowers swaying lightly in the summer breeze. It's pure cottage garden charm. Here's a gardener's secret. Hardy geraniums are among the best gap fillers. When other plants fade or leave awkward spaces, geraniums step in with fresh foliage and cheerful blooms. Plus, deer and rabbits usually leave them alone, while bees and butterflies happily visit their blossoms. Hardy geraniums may not shout the loudest, but they create harmony in the garden, stitching everything together into a living, breathing quilt of color. At number 17, we celebrate the bold and architectural lupins. Famous for their tall, spiky towers of pea-shaped flowers, lupins bring a sense of drama and vertical structure to any garden. Their color range is nothing short of spectacular. Deep indigos, fiery reds, sunshine yellows, creamy whites, and even multicolored blends that look like something out of a painting. Traditional lupins bloom in late spring to early summer, but newer long-blooming varieties can carry on for weeks, sometimes even into midsummer if the spent flowers are cut back promptly. They thrive in full sun with well-drained soil and prefer cooler climates, though some hybrids are more tolerant of heat. There's also a beautiful history behind lupins. Native to North America, they've been enriching soil for centuries because, as legumes, they actually improve nitrogen levels in the ground. So not only are they stunning to look at, but they're also quietly working behind the scenes to make your soil healthier. Picture walking through a border lined with tall lupin spires, the air buzzing with bees, the colors rising like fireworks above their palmate leaves. They bring a sense of wild meadow magic to the garden that's simply unforgettable. Number 18 brings us the graceful Japanese anemone, a perennial that saves its show for late in the season when many gardens are winding down. These flowers bloom in late summer and often continue right through fall, offering delicate blossoms in soft pinks and pure whites with bright golden centers. Their airy, branching stems make them dance in the breeze, adding movement and elegance to the autumn garden. Japanese anemones prefer partial shade to full sun and thrive in rich, moist soil. Once they're established, they can spread generously, forming large, graceful clumps that light up shaded corners or back borders. They're the kind of plant that quietly waits until most summer flowers have finished, then steps forward to carry the torch of color when it's most needed. There's a certain poetry in Japanese anemones. Their simple, cup-shaped flowers are timeless, almost ethereal. Imagine walking into your garden in September and finding these blooms swaying above lush green foliage, catching the last rays of sunlight as the season changes. They extend the beauty of your garden well beyond summer, giving you something to admire when most plants have retired for the year. Japanese anemones remind us that true beauty often comes later, rewarding the gardener with a final graceful encore. At number 19 is the feathery elegance of astilbe. Known for its plumes of flowers that rise like clouds of pink, red, white, or lavender, astilbe is one of the best perennials for shady gardens. It blooms from late spring into midsummer, and its lush foliage keeps the garden interesting long after the flowers fade. Astilbe thrives in partial to full shade and prefers moist, rich soil. Unlike many other perennials, it actually enjoys damp conditions, making it a great choice for spots near ponds, streams, or areas with heavier soil. Once established, astilbe forms dense clumps that return year after year, often getting fuller and more beautiful as time goes on. The flowers themselves add texture as much as color. Their soft, feathery plumes stand tall above the foliage, creating a layered, almost romantic effect. Picture a shaded woodland garden where astilbes form soft clouds of pink, glowing gently under dappled light. It feels like stepping into a fairy tale. And here's a tip: leave the flower plumes in place even after they fade. They dry beautifully and add winter interest to the garden, catching frost and snow like little sculptures. Astilbe proves that even in the shade, you can have long-lasting blooms that captivate all season long. And at number 20, we have the resilient sedum, often called stone crop. This perennial is a true garden workhorse, producing clusters of star-shaped flowers from late summer into fall. Depending on the variety, you can enjoy colors ranging from soft pinks and whites to deep burgundy reds. One of the most popular is Autumn Joy, which starts with pale green buds, shifts to rosy pink, and finally deepens into a rich coppery red as the season progresses. Sedum thrives in full sun and well-drained soil, but here's the key: it actually prefers poor, rocky soil and can handle drought like a champion. It's the kind of plant you can almost forget about, yet it will come back faithfully every year, often with even more flowers than before. Its succulent-like foliage adds interest even when it's not in bloom, giving you texture and greenery throughout the season. Pollinators adore sedum, especially butterflies and bees in late summer when nectar sources start to dwindle. And when winter arrives, the dried flower heads stand tall, adding sculptural beauty against snow or frost. Imagine a garden bed glowing with sedum's rich pink blossoms in September, then transforming into a frosty silhouette by January. It's a plant that delivers in every season. If you want a low-maintenance perennial that works hard, looks stunning, and provides year-round interest, sedum is an absolute must. So that's 5 more incredible perennials: hardy geraniums, lupines, Japanese anemones, astilbe, and sedum. Each one brings its own story, from spring charm to fall beauty. If you could add just one of these to your garden right now, which would it be? Tell me in the comments. I can't wait to hear your favorites. At number 21, we have the sturdy and dependable Baptisia, often called false indigo. This perennial is one of those plants that quietly steals the show. In late spring to early summer, it sends up tall spikes of pea-like flowers in deep indigo blue, buttery yellow, or even creamy white, depending on the variety. Once the flowers fade, the seed pods rattle in the wind, adding movement and sound to the garden. Baptisia thrives in full sun and well-drained soil, but once it's settled in, it's almost indestructible, drought-tolerant, pest-resistant, and long-lived. Some clumps can last for decades, slowly expanding into impressive shrub-like forms. It's the kind of perennial you plant once and enjoy for a lifetime. There's also a rustic charm to Baptisia. The tall flower spikes rise above the mounded foliage, and when paired with daisies, coneflowers, or ornamental grasses, they create a natural meadow-like effect. Imagine walking through your garden in June, with Baptisia's dark blue blossoms swaying gently, like candles glowing above the greenery. It's a plant of substance, beauty, and reliability, a true backbone for any perennial border. Number 22 is the beloved chrysanthemum, often called the mum. While many people know them as fall decorations in pots, the hardy perennial varieties are garden treasures. They bloom in late summer and continue into fall, giving you a burst of color just as most other flowers are winding down. Mums come in a dazzling range of shades: rich reds, sunny yellows, deep purples, oranges, even bicolors. They love full sun and well-drained soil, and with a little pinching back in early summer, you can encourage bushier plants with more blooms. What makes hardy mums so valuable is their timing. Just when your garden is starting to look tired in September, they explode with fresh color, carrying your display right up to the first frost. They're like the garden's grand finale, ending the growing season with fireworks of blossoms. And here's a tip: plant them in spring rather than fall. This gives their roots time to establish, making them much more likely to return year after year. At number 23, we step into the world of early bloomers with the hellebore, often called the Lenten rose. These shade-loving perennials are nothing short of magical. They bloom in late winter to very early spring, sometimes even pushing their flowers through snow. Imagine stepping outside in February and finding delicate blossoms waiting to greet you while the rest of the garden is still asleep. Hellebores come in a wide palette of colors: creamy whites, soft pinks, deep purples, and even speckled or double-petaled varieties. Their leathery, evergreen foliage keeps the garden looking fresh year-round, and their long-lasting flowers can stick around for weeks, sometimes months. They thrive in part to full shade, prefer rich soil, and once established, they're very low maintenance. Deer usually leave them alone, and their resilience to cold weather makes them one of the toughest perennials you can grow. Hellebores remind us that beauty doesn't always wait for warm weather. Sometimes it arrives quietly, in the coldest months, offering hope and color when we need it most. At number 24 is the ever-versatile coral bells, or heuchera. While they do produce delicate flower spikes in late spring to early summer, their real charm lies in their foliage. Coral bells come in an incredible variety of leaf colors: deep burgundy, lime green, silver, peach, even almost black. These leaves provide year-round interest, while their dainty flowers add a soft touch of movement and attract hummingbirds. Coral bells thrive in partial shade, though many newer varieties can handle full sun with consistent moisture. They're compact, easy to tuck into borders or containers, and perfect for adding contrast to greener foliage plants. Imagine a shady corner of your garden lit up by the jewel tones of coral bells, their leaves glowing like stained glass in dappled sunlight. They're low maintenance, evergreen in many regions, and deer-resistant. Plus, with so many cultivars available, you could build an entire collection of coral bells and never run out of new colors and textures to enjoy. Coral bells prove that in gardening, leaves can be just as spectacular as flowers. And finally, at number 25, we end with a true garden icon, the peony. Peonies are legendary for their lush, romantic blossoms that arrive in late spring to early summer. Their flowers can be as large as your hand, with layers of petals in pink, red, white, and even soft yellows. Some varieties are fragrant, filling the air with a sweet, intoxicating perfume. Peonies are hardy, long-lived perennials. Some have been known to thrive in the same spot for 50 years or more. Once planted in a sunny location with well-drained soil, they ask for very little and reward you with decades of breathtaking blooms. Their glossy green foliage also provides structure long after the flowers fade, and in fall, they turn a lovely bronze. What makes peonies so beloved is their timeless beauty. Imagine a border of peonies in late May, their giant blossoms nodding heavily in the breeze, their petals so full and soft they look almost unreal. They embody elegance, abundance, and reliability. Peonies are the kind of perennial you plant not just for yourself, but for future generations. They truly stand the test of time. So there you have it, 25 of the very best long-blooming perennials, from early blooming hellebores to late-season chrysanthemums, from the elegance of Japanese anemones to the timeless beauty of peonies. Each one offers color and joy that returns year after year. Which of these perennials will you be planting in your garden? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your favorites. To recap, we've covered 25 incredible perennials that bloom for weeks, even months, and come back stronger every year. These plants don't just bring color, they bring reliability, fragrance, pollinators, and in many cases, decades of beauty with very little effort. Now, I promised I'd share my number one personal favorite, and here it is, the coneflower. Why? Because it's tough as nails, it blooms for months, it attracts butterflies, bees, and birds, and it just keeps coming back no matter what. For me, it's the ultimate low-maintenance, high-reward perennial. Don't forget to subscribe for more gardening tips and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for spending time with me today. Happy gardening, and I'll see you in the next video.